Netflix and CEO Reed Hastings got a Wells notice from the SEC. What is a Wells notice? Well, I'll tell you, it isn't exactly good. It's not a good thing. You can see there, this is related to something that Hastings wrote on his Facebook page during the summer. That is what he wrote on Facebook in the summer, talking about how many hours the users, Netflix users, were on Netflix in June. The fact that he put it on Facebook, though, has the SEC a little bit concerned. Tom Garrow, who writes our corporate intelligence blog, here to talk about this one. This one broke late yesterday afternoon after the market was closed. Run us through it. What exactly is going on?
Well, they basically just disclosed, it's from a Facebook posting back in July, so it's quite a few months ago now. They disclosed they've got this notice. The posting, basically in the posting, he said he was congratulating one of his VPs, saying you've done a great job, and he says people watched over 1 billion hours of video, and they've said that was basically the SEC is saying that looks like a material kind of disclosure, something that they're a streaming video business, so this is showing a number to do with how much video they've streamed, and it's to Facebook, which is not exactly a completely public platform.
And it seems like that's the real key issue here, right? I mean, if he had written that in a press release, they put it out on Business Wire, PR Newswire, 1 billion hours, there's no problem. But he put it on Facebook. Is Facebook, and this is what I think this really comes down to, is Facebook considered a public forum?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he even said, Reed Hastings wrote a response that he also put out yesterday at the same time as a disclosure. And he said, just a month before that, we'd written on the company blog that we've done nearly 1 million hours of video. So it was only just before
or
this
nearly
that they'd said, so nearly a billion, that they said we'd done nearly 1 billion, and that was on the blog just a little bit before this. And then the Facebook post says we've done over 1 billion, so maybe it's a bit more.
And you can see here, this is we have here for you part of Reed Hastings' response it was attached to the filing yesterday. And he says, look, we think posting to over 200,000 people is very public, especially because many of my subscribers are reporters and bloggers. Okay, great. Some of us are. I personally wasn't on there beforehand. But, I mean, what happens is, the reality is that if you're a public company, there are accepted conduits for you to disseminate information. I don't think Facebook right now is one of those, and that's why we're having this issue.
No, I mean, it's public, but it's not that public.
Right.
And also, how long is it public for? I mean, what are the privacy settings like? What if they change later on? Is this being archived in a place that everything else is? I mean, it's definitely not as public as the things that everybody agrees is public. At the same time, a comment that casual, over 1 billion hours of video, you could imagine that there's a lot of CEOs of companies who would talk in that kind of way in a lot of different places.
Sure.
And if Facebook all of a sudden is no longer, a place where you can say anything even that casual, I mean, it raises questions about what you could say to a newspaper or what you could say to anywhere that's not necessarily public. Who's reading, a regional trade press in the south of the US, or who's reading a obscure website? I mean, who can you say these things to?
Right, exactly. Now, Facebook shares, we should point out, have actually responded pretty well to this. You can see the stock up about 2%. It only fell a little bit in the wake of this news yesterday. A Wells notice is obviously, it is a material issue for the company, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the SEC is going to bring a civil action. It means that the staff is recommending it. Gives Reed some time to talk to the SEC. Looking at the stock, shareholders think that this is going to blow over. Do you think that's what's going to happen?
It's hard to imagine that this is going to end in something very serious, right? I mean, one of the things they can just do is say, don't do this again, right? I think they can just give a cease and desist and say, stop doing that. Yeah, they give them a fine, but it won't be a huge fine.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, it could be a good example of the SEC actually kind of coming up to date with, setting a standard for everyone and saying, look, we're now considering Facebook is not public, or we now are considering Facebook is public. Maybe they just need to have this argument once, it gets resolved, and then everybody knows for once and for all Facebook. But then there's also a lot of other places where, the same kind of thing could happen.
Yeah, and you'll see this because, this is interesting. When he put that out, in those early July, talking about the June traffic numbers, the stock jumped on it. I mean, the stock moved on it. So that can go both ways. You could say, look, obviously enough people noticed it. It is a public forum. Or you could say, this moved it and it wasn't disseminated to enough people. That's going to be for higher pretty
Yeah, I
great
mean,
for us to
if
work
it did
out.
juice the stock up, however much percent, those 200,000 followers did have an advantage. They got an alert the moment he published it. Everybody else only found out about it once the journalist published it to their own news sites. Or
Exactly.
whatever. So, I mean, there is an argument there that if it moves the stock price, maybe you should do it to more than 200,000 followers.
Right. All right, Tongara, Corporate Intelligence blog. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.